The journey that many asylum seekers take to come to the United States for a better life is difficult and dangerous.
Yeah, and many who seek refuge have found their way to Maine. They now call our state home. Our Hannah Yeshivi spoke with a couple of people who shared their stories with us. Hey, Hannah.
Good morning, Lee and Sharon. Many asylum seekers come to the U.S. because they say they have no other choice. They needed to escape the crime and persecution that made life unbearable for them and their families. While they wait for work permits in the U.S., many have to rely on general assistance just to get by.
I left Uganda in January 2021, and I was running away from the political problems that I faced back home in my country. And I was looking for where I could start life over again after being traumatized by the harsh treatment by the government in my country.
So harsh that Edward decided to take his family, including a 1-year-old child, to the United States by way of Mexico.
And it was very, very hard, very hard.
A journey Joao and his family know all too well. They came here from Angola.
Nous avons marché plus de 3 heures, 4 heures du temps pour arriver à un autre pays. Après ce pays-là, on part encore à un autre pays. C'était plus de 10 ou 11 pays que nous avons passé pour arriver ici à Maine.
Once in Maine, both Edward and Joao relied on Greater Portland Family Promise, a nonprofit that has been helping asylum seekers find temporary and long-term housing.
How are you?
Executive Director Michelle Lamb says they are currently hosting 36 asylum seekers at the Williston-Immanuel United Church in Portland. The church's pastor says it's a way to make a real difference.
So we began talking about how we could use our building. This is a massive space that we have, a small congregation, much smaller than it used to be back in the heyday. So we started doing conversations around how could we help.
The church says it's prepared to provide those asylum-seeking families that safe space for an entire year.
The families can kind of get settled, create a temporary home. They have access to showers, laundry, a full kitchen, and can live, somewhat normal lives while they search for housing.
And while they wait for their federal work permits, which could take close to 2 years nowadays, for Joao and his family, the long wait is worth it.
Il a été avec le banditisme en mon pays. Il avait de violence et beaucoup de choses anormales là-bas. C'est pour cela que mon père a dit ici, ça ne va pas moyen parce que moi aussi un jour, j'étais battu pour les bandits. Ils m'ont battu parce que j'étais en train de passer à la route. Ils m'ont pris mon téléphone, tous mes biens et ils m'ont battu.
Joao and his younger sisters are going to school right now, while his parents patiently wait for their work permits. For Edward and his family, after a year of sleeping in a hotel, they finally found a unit in Portland with Avesta housing.
Wow, this is a nice company, I think. Yeah, so I really wanted to know more about Avesta.
Edward says he's so thankful to Avesta for accepting his application for an apartment that he knows just the right way to give back now that he has his work permit.
And try to enter into the construction because I didn't have much. I'm a handyman, but I never had any training before. I was doing things out of my creativity.
Creativity that has allowed him to put his head and hands together to fix basic resident issues. Edward is now a maintenance technician for the housing company after getting a construction certificate with SMCC.
Man, you just enjoy using the tools and working. And sometimes I forget that even I have to go for lunch.
While Edward's story is one of hopes realized, Michelle says that's not the case for every asylum-seeking family.
Greater Portland Family Promise is still receiving a lot of calls from people looking for shelter, and unfortunately, we already have a waiting list for our shelter here at Williston-Immanuel, and we are not taking new clients for our case management. So it's really hard knowing that we are maxed out, which I'm sure a lot of other agencies are. I know that in Portland, over 1,000 new Mainers arrived since January, just in the first 2 or 3 months of the year, and families are continuing to arrive. And at this point, I don't even know where to refer people.
But for us, because of the hospitality we have received here, we would wish to stay and work for Maine so that we can pay back, maybe, I don't know.
What he does know is that after starting at the bottom, he and his family are closer than ever to leaving behind their old lives for the way life should be.
I think Maine is a good place. Yeah, it's a good place.
Michelle also tells me Greater Portland Family Promise is looking into ways of creating more permanent housing solutions for families and to maybe turn former religious buildings into permanent affordable housing units. The nonprofit is also looking at doing more activities to integrate asylum-seeking families into the community for them not to feel so isolated here. Hannah Yashivi, News Center, Maine.